Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the Pemko number 2001AT. This is a mill finish latching panic exit saddle with a black Thermo seal insert. This is a sample. This is literally just literally a 6-inch sample for purposes of this video. And the 2001 is representative of the profile of this threshold. The A stands for the mill aluminum finish, and this item is going to be available in addition to mill aluminum. That's what the A means. The D would be dark bronze anodized. G would be gold anodized. The insert material that you can get, the T, stands for this Thermo seal, which is a very typical and common item that's going to be used in bump-up style thresholds. Also available in a vinyl and then a pile as well. Vinyl will look very similar to this, except that its performance characteristics will not be nearly as high as this synthetic piece of material that's going to emulate rubber from Pemko. Vinyl is poor extreme temperature wise and exposure to ultraviolet. Only if you were on a project that was incredibly cost sensitive would you use vinyl, in my opinion. You would always want a higher caliber item like Thermo seal. And frankly, I don't recall the last time that I've sold this with a vinyl sort of insert. Now, moving on. Also, it's available in pile. Should you want a very small piece of thin, soft mohair or pile, that's common. You'll see that all the time in aluminum storefront entrances. A lot of people like Thermo pile sort of seal. It provides, depending on the installation, it provides a very nice seal on the face of the door, but does so with a very small compression requirement. It doesn't take much to compress the pile, whereas this Thermo seal is much more rigid. I would personally use the pile in an instance where there was a lot of activity. I do not want the pile or the insert to obstruct the door operation. A door will move over time. The threshold, with all of its lateral force, will certainly move over time. A pile in the long run, when the door is constantly open and closed, is probably better off maintenance-wise, provided that it is making contact with the face of the door, versus something much more rigid like Thermo from Pemko. Where I would use the Thermo seal is in instances where the doors were primarily closed all the time. You might have exit doors on the back of a big box store. You might have 3 pair of doors on a 100,000 square foot building. Those doors are always kept closed. The fact that they're not used very often, and that having a more rigid or less flexible, I would say, an insert that would work under circumstances by which they were not going to be expected to operate flawlessly, continuously all day long, I would opt for a better amount of force out of the seal on the face of the door in that sort of circumstance. Weatherstripping, sealing the rear door would be more crucial. The fact of the matter is, with a door that's in constant use, the pile versus Thermo and the differences of energy efficiency between the two are negated because the door is always open. So in instances where the door is always closed, I would probably go for a Thermo. Well, and if it wasn't extreme temperatures and there was really no exposure to ultraviolet, vinyl might make okay sense in that regard as well. So this is, again, just a sample, a 6-inch piece. Dimensionally now, let's go over the dimensional properties. You can see from the image below this video that this threshold is 5-inch wide, that it's 1/2 inch tall. So this is going to give you the benefit of something that's handicap compliant. It's going to give you the benefit of something that has a very positive stop to the face of the door, and it's going to give you a situation where the water really has to back and to the left kind of movement to get the water up around this, what is in effect a 3/8 tall berm that's here. And plus it's got that inserted key stock, so water intrusion from down here is all but not going to happen. So I am a fan of bump-up style thresholds because they really stop it. But I feel that you lose the total potential of a threshold like this without a door sweep. The door is going to occupy this space. I would have a sweep out here. I want to prevent the weather at the front of its point of intrusion. We're using this as a reserve. Let's leave this as the insurance policy, but this is what's going to keep the water out, would be my opinion. The water. Now, if this was the genuine article, you'd have a countersink about 4 or 5 inches from the edge. Okay, and screws would be included. They'd be about a number 10 by 1.5 inch flathead wood screw, a Phillips drive. This is in the site in several different lengths. If you have need for a custom length, by all means let us know by ordering the next longest piece or pieces and simply indicate in the comment field what length you'd like for us to cut the material back to. Now the reasoning is this. If this was the genuine article, you'd have that countersink, and if you had to take a 4-foot piece and cut it down to say 42 inch, very common, you'd eliminate that first countersink. You'll be stuck cutting it to length, you'll be forced to drill a hole and to countersink it. And you may not want to do that work. You might not have the ability to countersink it. You know, drilling a hole is one thing for a screw, but countersinking it's different. I have seen countless threshold installations that have become compromised because someone has just drilled a hole and put into that round hole a flathead screw, and naturally the head of the screw projects up from the top of the threshold. It's a trip hazard in my opinion, plus because it's not seated into that greater surface area of the countersink, all of that lateral force, especially on a bump up where it's always being pushed, you're pulling the door, it's like you're literally pushing this threshold with your hands every time the door is pulled closed or pushed closed. And that's just going to work that screw loose over time. There's probably just a plastic anchor down there that's been used. So that's not substantial in order to keep a threshold in place. And thresholds should be one and done. They should be installed and never have to be worried about again, in my opinion. But the truth of the matter is, that's not always the case. If you ordered a custom length, we will not only give you that countersink at the proper distance from the edge, but the proper center to center as well, so keep that in mind. And in terms of the fastening, especially with a bump-up style, it takes all that lateral force. I would personally opt to use a flathead machine bolt, like a 1032 or something like that, or a 1224, and then get myself a lead shield. I would drill that hole, I would seat the lead anchor down, and I'd run that machine bolt into it. And that if you've ever used that sort of anchoring system, you know you all but need a stick of dynamite to get that anchor out. What I also like about that application is you could remove the machine screws, lift the threshold out, because a hallmark of Pemko is ease of access to the replacement material. You can pull that threshold out, slide out the fatigued material, and insert new material. Put it back down, put your machine bolts back down, and you're in good shape. Obviously, recaulking, stripping out the old caulk and recaulking. I would certainly always give myself a bed of caulk to lay down underneath here. Another trick that I've used is I've ordered from Pemko strips of replacement neoprene that would be used in door sweeps, and I would lay those down, maybe tack it down with just a very small amount of construction adhesive just to keep it in place, set the threshold down on top of it, and really get it down good. Keep all that in mind. Keep in mind that all of that will potentially complicate your undercut situation, but this is an application where if you have an undercut that's 5/16 of an inch, 3/8 of an inch, this is going to work great for you. Okay, really is. In conclusion, there is a link to the Pemko catalog below this video where you can review the entire Pemko product line. All things weather stripping related, both commercial and residential. Not only thresholds like this, but perimeter gasketing, door sweeps naturally, material made of aluminum, again like this, made of stainless steel and architectural bronze. I'm partial to Pemko for a few reasons. They have they have the broadest spectrum of offering when it comes to weather stripping from any single manufacturer. And that's great. It's a one-stop shop is what we're saying. But really, what comes into play into the formula is the fact that their customer service is so positively dependable. They're just good, and they get the job done every time, every single time. So Pemko is a good company to consider with good quality, full, offering of weather stripping sort of products. If you have any questions on the Pemko 2001AT bump up style, threshold, or any other Pemko product, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.